Now this is the third part of our Lazard benchmarking and cost of capital analysis. And I've been thinking not so much, but just a little bit about these sort of interview tests you have to do, and perhaps some of the projects you might have in university, and maybe in the projects you're working on as a consultant, you do things the same kind of way. You put in the timelines, and you're very good at even sculpting debt, and okay, making good. But I want to talk to you about thinking, and this is the way we started our Lazard thing. When we looked at Lazard, when we looked at our Lazard LCOE, we found the website. All right, I found the website somewhere, and I think it gives you the levelized cost of energy. Oh, it gives you a beautiful Mr. They talk about the findings of their analysis and all that. I just saw it said something about M&A, and I hope it's downloading somewhere, right? Just a minute. Well, I seem to have an issue with downloading. Okay, here we go. Here's the LCOE, and then they give you the football field analysis, and this is the one where nuclear is so much more expensive than solar plus storage or natural gas or anything, and that was my whole kind of argument. And then they give you these big ranges, and the whole idea of showing you this, how to do all of this, was to let you do this yourself. And then they have another football field diagram, another football field diagram, another one. And this one was supposed to show you the effect of the cost of capital. And I suppose it did have a more steep slope for nuclear than others. Maybe that, okay, let's not be mean. Maybe that does something for you. And then they did add this thing. Okay, I don't want to do that. They did add this thing where we kind of should really compare the cost of natural gas basically to or the marginal cost of energy, which is essentially is natural gas at some market heat rate. Okay, and then I guess they did some other sensitivity, and all I'm trying to show you here is they seem to be obsessed with the football field diagrams, and I think for people in M&A, football field diagrams are very good. And then this is this is their project finance model, which we went through in detail, and then we've got the drivers. Okay, now all I'm trying to get out of my mouth here is the idea that if you could think before you do it how you might want to make a presentation, and not always use the same kind of thing. And that's where I kind of suggested, let's do this piece by piece analysis and show you the effects of, in this case, cost of capital. We could have done this with any kind of inputs, okay? And what I suppose we could have even walked up and down through solar versus to wind or something like that. And then I also said, okay, and what I'm trying to say is imagine the end first, and then start working on your programs to get there. We know we have to compute the levelized cost, and this one, remember, this compares Lazard numbers for one technology, or no, for different technologies to the which one is the Lazard one? The Lazard one's the blue one, and this is the one with the lower cost of capital. You can see the dramatic effect of this one. And I think if you imagine how you want to make a presentation and focus on this presentation, well, that's a big deal. And then you're going to run into problems with Excel. Excel's going to not do everything for you, and to get around those problems, you're going to have to make some sort of VBA. And I just am going to go through a couple of little VBA things without doing a lot of programming, I think. Perhaps with a little, okay? I'm just thinking through that. Okay, let's put maybe let's go all the way back to our wind, okay? And I'm going to go through here, and if you saw the last video and made it through, you deserve some kind of really massive award. But when we did this, if we, this says we're going to apply the sculpting to all of these ones. Okay, I'm going to apply it to all of these. Okay, and when we applied the sculpting, we had to take the financial model and run a goal seek. And if we want to compile a bunch of these values and start changing them, what that means is we're going to have to run a goal seek every time. So let's just do a couple of things. Now, let's first make the goal seek, and then show you how you can do something really simple, which is attach the goal seek to these things. And then after you attach the goal seek, just a minute, let me make sure I'm going to edit. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to right click and go to assign macro. And I don't know, if somebody knows, can you email me if there's a way to automatically go to this workbook? Because that's almost all the time you want to see. I have something called goal seek 2, okay, here. So we're going to make a goal seek function that sets the NPV equal to 0. Now, how about this? Oops, let's just make sure I didn't already do the goal seek here. Oh, good, I didn't. And this one, I should really go to Format Control and change this 8 to, let's try 100, okay? Why they don't put it to, oops. I needed to, let's even do something else, okay? This one, G, just a minute, G, I'm going to put 56, okay? So we just need to show all of the scenarios, okay? And let's get to perhaps this scenario. All right, and in this scenario now, if we go to this one, it's not working. And the reason it's not working is in our project finance model down here, we have a range name, NPV target. Remember, that's Shift Control F3, just in case you didn't watch the other video, and that puts the NPV target. And we're going to change the project IRR that I put way here, which perhaps wasn't a great place to do it, because this project IRR is not exactly the same now as the weighted average after-tax cost of capital. It's just about, because we use sculpting, and okay, but it's a tiny little bit different. Fine. And that one has a range name. I put that here and did the Shift Control F3. So now let's go to the developer and record a macro, and this is, let's call it goal seek. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's the same as the goal seek name, I hope. And we go to data and what if analysis and goal seek, and we set the NPV equal to 0, and it's always very good to do that by changing the project IRR. Okay? And we run that, and it's okay, and it gave us a little bit different project IRR, and this time the IRR test was all right, and we better not forget to turn off the macro. And that is by far the most common macro I make. I say these things in my classes. I'm sorry if you've heard it before, but you might remember where you were when, I don't know, when who knows something else. Okay, when Ukraine got invaded on February 22nd or whatever it was. You might remember where you're sitting, a big political event. You remember, exactly where you were and all that. I kind of remember that, I think. Or there are other political events when Kennedy got shot. I'm not that old. Well, I almost am, but I wouldn't remember that. I remember where I was when I made my first macro. It was this goal-seek macro, and if there's any macro that's important, it's this one. And now I have this goal-seek little button already here, and let's assign it to this macro I just made for goal-seek. Now, when you make this macro, you're not quite finished. You go to assign. It was so exciting when I had my first macro. I can't tell you. And really, I don't know why VBA is criticized. I don't know. I don't want to defend it too much. There are some horrible things with VBA. The error checking in VBA is disgusting. When you use a user-defined function and hit this thing called a value, it can be a mess. But in general, it's really it's almost, I'm very afraid to use artificial intelligence or anything else, but it does all this programming for you. And so you want to set the NPV target. And you have to remember the name, I guess. If you want to criticize them for that, that's true too. Now, if you don't change the name, then if you start inserting or deleting rows, it's not that artificially intelligent. So this was NPV target. It was a good idea to leave this. And this was PROJIRR. And because of my age, or just my other problems with my brain, I can't do that. And so that's what we have, okay? And so you just let Excel do the work. You put in range names. You need range names always, okay? And then, so now if we, let's change this one and assign it to our little goal-seek one, okay? All right, that's basic, and I'm sure I've taken through you through this many times, and it's not that big a deal. And if we change it to our silicon, now we get oh, that's because I assigned it here. No, hang on, let me do this. Now I assigned this macro 2 to this one, and I'm going to take this off now. Okay, so it doesn't change because what I just did is every time you change this scenario, it does this. So I'm going to change this to silicon best. Oh, better yet, we put a little flag in here, and I notice I call this the PF method, and that means that whenever the PF method is true, we're going to have to run the goal seek because we're not doing the economic value where it's all automatically computed. So let's just go back to our goal seek, and that was called PF method, if you remember. I hope I got that right. And then you can say, if I'm only going to run that when this PF method is true. So we put if, and then you can, instead of putting this range, you can put PF method. So that's just like putting the double inverted commas in there, or double quotes, whatever you say, if method. And then you don't have to put equals true, and then you put then, just like in Excel. Let's maybe, put this over a little bit and put end if. You could also, if you want, just do this. Okay, you could just do it like this. Why don't we do that? Okay, watch this not work. And then now, so now when we're doing this, let's just make sure that that's working. So now the goal seek's working, okay? And now, but now what we'd like to do is, and by the way, if that's false, then we don't have to run the goal seek and we don't have to take that little bit of time, okay? Let's, please, if you use C++, R, Python, okay, great. Don't, for me, this business of which language you should use is such an irrelevant kind of thing. You just want to get it done. And I don't know, perhaps I've used all the different ones, starting with Fortran and C and C++ and other database languages and all that. They're all okay, whatever. You just use the one that you really works kind of for you. Now, once we have this, what we'd like to do is fill in this thing here with all of the different scenarios. And basically, what you would like to do is, these are all the different scenarios like this. So we could assign the macro here, assign this macro to it, okay? And then whenever we run this macro, let's copy this button. Since we use this back and forth method, we can do that, okay? And if we're going to go, let's go for, okay. Let's say I want to run a scenario that has a debt ratio of 80%, and it's for the nuclear case, then this is the Lazard one, and I hope this is the, just a minute, I hope this is the result. This is, if we go here, this is the nominal LCOE, and that's the LCOE we had in our project finance model. Oops! Did I not run the goal seek? Just a minute. I thought I ran the goal seek here. Okay. Perhaps I didn't assign it to this method. Okay. Whoops. I thought I ran it. So if we run a different case, yes, it's redoing the goal seek. Okay. But how would we get all of these cases? This, remember, is case number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we have down here we have 14 different cases. How could we get all of these cases to work together? Well, here's my suggestion on this one. Let's go down here and make this, instead of output, let's call it OUT PT, well, something like this. And let's take this whole range here. And again, when we're doing this, we naming ranges, it's about the only time you really want to name ranges. This time, take it from the top. So remember, out PT. And then you're going to just use a little bit of a for loop where you're going to go through each one and collect each one. Let's do it without the goal seek, okay? So let's just say for each one, I'm going to get the, just a minute, let's get the LCOE applied, and that's not the one. Computer, just a minute. Let's find out where we actually used the LCOE. I guess it's this one. Just a minute. Oh, shoot. I'm really sorry. It's already got this is the result. This is the LCOE that we're going to use right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go, we can take a nuclear, or let's take a wind, and then we're going to find this number, okay, which is, it's either computed with a goal seek or it's computed directly with our PMT. Let's press F5 and go back. Okay, and then, so we've already got that. In fact, I'm going to put LCOE result. And that's, we just select that, Shift Control F3, and it puts LCOE result. It puts a little underscore there, okay? We've got that, and we've got the output, and what we're going to do is just work through every single case up here. And remember, these cases are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to run through the 14 cases and just put them here. So what I'm going to do now is delete this. Okay, and everything went away. Everything went away. And then we make a little, let's take this one and take what I did before away. Okay, and this time, let's just go to perhaps our developer, and we can go to macros, and let's create let's make it something like this. It has to be scenarios with an S, and here's why. Oops, we can't, yes, it made a little blank one for us. The reason is we'll have one other range name, and the other range name will be in our financing, this thing here, and I named that scenario, to be confusing. So if we change that, we're going to change this to 1. If we change this to 1, we'll change that, and sometimes we'll have to run a goal seek. And when we change it to 1, okay, let's perhaps run the goal seek. We probably don't have to, but it doesn't matter. You can see it wasn't true, so it didn't work. Whatever. And then we take our this one, which is the LCO applied, and I almost should press Shift Control 7. Perhaps that's not a great thing, but at least that's kind of highlighting what we're using. And is that the LCOE result? Let me just make sure. Yes, it is. Okay, so that was scenario. So now in this, let's attach this one to this one we just made, which was called scenarios with an S, and put OK. So we're going to attach the macro. After we've attached the macro, let's go to the assign macro and press edit. And when we press edit, now the first thing to do for me, and this is like a data table, but a data table wouldn't work for 10 different reasons. It would kind of work. We'd have to move the scenario number in and do it. We could probably manage it, and then we'd have the problem with data tables slowing us down, and it's in a different sheet, from the input, but we couldn't do the goal seek. That we couldn't do. So right now, what we're going to do is, first let's find the row numbers. So what we could do eventually is we might want to go here, and we might want to add some more financing cases, or insert some more financing cases, and then we'd have, instead of 14, we'd have 15, and that would be zero problem at all. Okay, I was almost going to show you that, but I'm not going to. So we're going to find the how about number of rows, okay? And then once we find the number of rows, let's then work through each row, and change the scenario number. Okay? And then once, and including in that, then let's put the result, which was called LCOE result, in different rows using cells statement. Okay, so that's what we're going to do, and then we'll be finished. To find the number of rows, here's the trick. Remember this, we'll put in output range. So what we do here is we can put this OUTP dot rows dot count. And it took me so long, and we make a little thing here, and some people say, oh, you're doing this really badly because you're not. So that's how we find the number of rows. That's the key to start this. And then you put a for loop. Let's put for row. No, let's put I think that would be better. Equal 1 to total rows. And that's going to do it. And whenever we do that, we have to put next I. And you can just think of this as working through row by row by row. Row 2, row 3, row 4. But it's going to be rows in the output thing. And then what we do, we can indent if we want, and we can put scenario equal I. Okay? That's changing that scenario. And then the big thing here is you can put goal seek. That's how we did it. And it's just the name of our other function. And then you put, and I know if it's the first time you've done that, you put dot cells. And you put, well, we put I for the row, and then call, and not column, 1, because it's got one column, that thing we made, and you put equal, what was it again, the LCOE result. Now I'm going to be so brave, and I haven't done it exactly like this before. I usually put range in there, but that's all we need. That's all we need, and that will fill everything together. And for me, it's so much better doing this, and once you get used to it, it's so easy, and I've gone through, like so many things I've gone through and done it wrong so many different times. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to be so brave and show you this not working right now. So we go to right-click, and we find this thing called scenarios, which I think I already did, but I'm nervous. And then it says debug. Oh, shoot. Out P. And maybe, oh no. Do I have to do it like this? So, oh, shoot, if I have to do it like this, I don't know. And did I call it out P like that? I hope I did. You can, once you made the error, you can try this. And, oh no, see, I got that wrong. Oh, crap. OUTPT. Oh, shoot, that's my problem. Okay, so this is a classic thing I would do, and I'm just gonna make sure that this thing works. OUTPT, and of course I put it down here as well, okay, and it's still not going to work, I'm absolutely sure. Maybe you can see the error I made. Oh no, it worked a little bit, okay. So that's how we go through things, and now this thing I just recorded a macro and put took away the fix to a variable scale. Now the next thing is, how do we get an output of this? Well, if we just did this, maybe you'd like this. I'll put alternate and F1 to make a graph. Kind of. Okay, but yeah, people like that waterfall graph a lot better, and I kind of understand. And I'm not going to tell you my story. Yes, I am, because I did a whole bunch of macros to make a waterfall graph, and then just when I was finishing it and putting those final touches on it, Excel did it in anyway. But to make a waterfall graph, here's what I do. I start with the first one, and then on the second one, I just use the increment. And I go through the increment, but then when we get to the Lazard case, I said, no, I'd like that to be a subtotal, and then you can compute the rest of the subtotals, and then you get to the very last one, and you just put that in. So I think I'm going to make this one in a different place. So you just press on this one with the increments, then you just press, I'm going to press alternate F1 again. It gives me the kind of regular old bar chart. You change the chart type and go down to waterfall chart, and it starts to look okay. But this one, you have to kind of click on this one and set it as a total, and do the same thing with this one. And I'm sure you can change all the rest of this. And this is really pretty good what Excel does for you. And then of course you can put the data labels on here and change the size and all that. Okay. All right. So that's that. And I think that's enough of this, frankly. There's another macro to copy all of the scenarios. So if you want to copy across, instead of copying for one project the different scenarios, you take the different projects for one scenario, and I put that up here. Just a minute. I think I put this. No, excuse me. It's this one I called fixed. You see, it's red, and I did that. I call that LCOE array, so you can just look and see how that one works. It's basically exactly the same sort of idea. Oh, and I put this copy all. I call this copy all. So if you look at this macro and press edit, you can see I just do almost the same thing. Oh, look, I did use this one. And it's this time macro 2 is the goal seek. So you could change this to goal seek. And that's how it works. I think these little, getting comfortable with just a little VBA, I know some people would argue with me about this and say I should do it in other languages and all that, but just getting comfortable with that can be very valuable and do things you just couldn't do or would be really, really painful to do otherwise. So that's enough. Part 3. Oh my gosh.